Hey everybody, it's Nyce. I hope everyone that got destroyed by the tutorial boss is having a nice day. Today we got a very special guide for you. This will be a guide for the Astrologer or any mage spellcasting character on how to defeat bosses. We'll go over basic mechanics and what I do to help me advance in boss fights. My experience is this is my first FromSoft game, but these are very good tips I think will help new players and veterans alike in dealing with the early game bosses and some end game ones. So pay attention to the footage in the background. I think this is all about patience, especially when you're dealing with ranged combat. Wait for your chance to strike and play smart. After you face a boss a couple of times, even though they're typically very unpredictable, you will eventually learn when you have an opening and when you have time to cast. Most of this is distance. I know when I'm at a certain distance, I got time to cast. Some bosses have gap closers, which can really mix things up, especially if you're using a spell with a large cast time. You can decrease the cast time of spells by investing points into the dexterity stat. Now, as you can see, when I get distance, that's the only time I'm going to use my spell, which has a cast time. This is the gravity sling spell. This is located right where you get the meteorite staff. If you do not know how to find that staff, I did a video on it. Please go check it out if you need help. The spell is actually located in those same ruins where you will see me grab the staff from. Most of this game is about patience. Knowing when you can't use a certain spell with the cast time could make or break your fights. The rock sling spell you see me use here is very powerful, but it has a slight cast time. The glintstone pebble is your staple and go-to, as it's pretty instant and can be considered basically as your spammable for a magicka caster. The astrologer starts off with this skill, so it's very convenient, very low FP cost, and it's pretty much your go-to when you're not sure about your enemy's animation, speed, capabilities, or potential gap closers. Range combat open world when you're dealing with bosses is it's OP. What else can I say? If you're able to mount and cast your spells, then there's not too many things you cannot deal with. I highly recommend using your summons whenever you have a chance to. I did a video on these summons if you're interested in checking it out. Very easy to get, and what's amazing is that they respawn themselves, and this provides a lot of distraction times for you to free cast inside of the boss's back. This is very, very valuable, especially when using spells with a cast time. Having someone distracted or basically having the boss taunted goes a long distance. With range mounted combat, you can definitely outpatience the NPC. Basically just keep moving. When they're out of range of your spells, move in, do a spell, and back out. Rinse and repeat. As you can see here, just keep distance out of the melee range. As soon as you see them do an attack where they're vulnerable, hit them with a glintstone pebble, then get your distance. Use line of sight when possible, and just time everything right, and sure enough, it's easy. Mounted combat with spell casting is ridiculous. Next up, we have taken advantage of line of sight. Now, the following boss is a boss I've had a lot of people ask me advice on in comment sections and Discord, and saying, hey, how do I deal with this boss? It's so tough, I'm too squishy on my astrologer, etc, etc. Well, this boss room has a line of sight, so let's talk about it. Line of sight is ridiculous. As in any video game, if they can't see you, they typically can't hit you. As you can see, his magma attack does not go through this wall, so I'm gonna hug it and kite it. But what's crazy about this is if the boss loses sight of you for long enough, he will de-aggro. This works for basically every boss, every NPC. Most of them, that is. I've had it work for most boss fights. So as you can see, he hasn't seen me for a while. He's going clockwise. I'm going to go clockwise to his flank. It's as if I left the area. And when this happens, it's not like they reset like most of the games. I'm going to be able to get some free casting in easily, you know, except I wasn't in range for this, so we're going to ignore that. But basically, after that, you just rinse and repeat. You don't take risks, and you just nuke them down at range. It's not the most exciting of play styles, but it's definitely the smartest. We use our line of sight, wait till he loses interest in us, and then that's when we hit him from range. And remember, you're the one at the advantage when it comes to range combat versus the default melee combat. This will make fights very easy if you can take advantage of everything that you can and utilize your build to its full potential. So next up, we're going to talk stats. As an astrologer, your obvious primary goal is to raise your intelligence level, and then second priority is probably raising that FP meter. The astrologer starts with the least health of any class, and obviously vigor is very important, but definitely make sure you balance your stats out properly. Also, pay attention to your blue bar. You see this animation right here? This is what happens when you attempt to cast a skill you do not have enough FP for. This will cause your character to be vulnerable for a very long time, and sometimes this will cause you a death. So make sure you have those blue flasks ready and pay attention to your bar and how much the spells cost. And so here we go with one more fight. Remember, you typically can get a couple of free casts at the beginning. Remember, this gravity spell has a delayed time, so the NPCs are designed to dodge incoming spells, but since this is such a delayed spell, it usually ends up hitting them at distance. Remember to keep your distance and patience in short, pay attention to your current attributes, and invest properly. I will be having more guides coming out soon. The fight you see here in the background was actually recorded live on stream, so be sure to come check out the streams if you can. We have a very positive community, always helping out each other and making each other better. So in short, the Astrologer is an amazing class. Mage and spellcasting is definitely alive, and I highly recommend it, and I hope all of you enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.